Welcome to the Art of Performance at UCI 6th edition. The Art of Performance was founded at UCI in 2015 with my colleague, Ulysses Jenkins. It is our goal to be able to share performance and media in the Experimental Media and Performance Lab on the campus of UCI. Today, we're sharing it digitally. And tonight's program is titled Virtual Performance, Visionary Consciousness, and the Videophone. I'd like to acknowledge this program has been made possible with the generous support of many, including the UCI Art Department and Chair Kevin Appel, the Claire Trevor School of the Arts and Dean Stephen Barker, the Experimental Media and Performance Lab Committee, and Bruce Warner. I'd also like to acknowledge the UCI students that made works in response to a quarter of studying and researching the work of Kit Galloway, Ulysses Jenkins, and Barbara T. Smith. Tonight, we are honored and excited to feature the work of these legendary artists, Barbara T. Smith, Ulysses Jenkins, Kit Galloway, and Sherrie Rabinowitz of Mobile Image. Our program focuses on these artists' inquiry into the past, present, and future of telecommunications. And tonight we are celebrating their groundbreaking work and honoring them with the Claire Trevor School of the Arts Lifetime Achievement Award that will be presented later in the program by our Dean, Stephen Barker. Also, as part of this program, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Kit Galloway and Sherrie Rabinowitz's seminal work, Hole in Space, a public communication sculpture they created in 1980, which interfaced pedestrians at the Lincoln Center in New York City with people in an outside shopping mall in Century City, Los Angeles. This groundbreaking work would usher in a new era of live-streamed interactive communication tools for artists that continue to resonate today. With that, I'd like to introduce each of our wonderful artists that are featured here today. Kit Galloway is one of the first artists to begin exploring telecollaboration with satellite technologies in the 1970s. Kit's commitment to using technologies to enhance community interactions led him and his partner, Sherrie Rabinowitz, to establish the Electronic Café, a cultural incubator in Santa Monica, which became internationally known as an influential hub for dialogue and for exhibition and performance dedicated to network and ritual and virtual art. Electronic Café Network was about integrating community, art, technology, media communications, and cross-cultural communications at a global scale. Welcome, Kit. Thank you.
Hey.
Hi. Also, Barbara T. Smith has been at the forefront of feminist art and performance in Southern California for over 50 years. She is one of the first artists to make durational, ritual, visual, autobiographical performance artworks. Using her own body as her artistic medium, she explored sexuality, nurturing, female desire, physical and spiritual sustenance in her work. A graduate of the first UCI MFA cohort art program with classmates Chris Burden and Nancy Buchanan, she co-founded F-Space, an artist-run performance space in Orange County. Smith's engagement with interactive telecommunication technology developed in collaboration with UCLA professor and scientist Roy Walford, who was a participant in the Biosphere and her partner at the time. In the 21st Century Odyssey, 1991 to 1993, Smith traveled the world and transmitted her performance back to the Biosphere 2, where Walford lived at the time, and the people in the Biosphere responded to her transmissions. Barbara will discuss and share excerpts of this work in tonight's evening's program. Ulysses Jenkins. Hello, Ulysses. It's great to see you. And Ulysses, co-founder of the Art of Performance in Irvine, is a professor in the UCI Art Department, since 1993. He began as a painter and muralist, and in the 1970s, he was introduced to video, just as the first consumer cameras were made available to individuals. Technology's role in building community has been a primary concern throughout his art practice. His participation in Kit Galloway and Sherrie Rabinowitz's Electronic Café and the Hole in Space Interactive Project was soon followed by further alternative methods of breaking down the dominant authority of television in white America by creating works that point to a future informed by entirely different history. He seized upon television technology as a means to broadcast alternative depictions of his own African and Native American culture and heritage. Jenkins drew upon the inspiration of the African oral tradition in videos that were often structured around music and poetic recitation. Also, in his ritual dynamic performance artworks. We're going to start the evening off with Ulysses Jenkins. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah, my mic was off.
That's okay. We're here. We're here.
Technology
it's with us.
Is always something that you might not have stumbled on.
Exactly. And today we're going to explore your visionary works that were created over 40 years ago that brought us to where we are today, and luckily could lean on it all this past year and a half while we were dealing with quarantine. So I have a question for you, Ulysses.
Yes.
How did you come to work with telecommunications technology in relation to your own multimedia performance art and video work?
Well, when I was a graduate student at Otis Art Institute, I was being taught through this textbook here, and I hope you can see it, Expanded Cinema by Gene Youngblood, in a course where he talked about the future in media and how we may proceed in the direction of new directions in the media. He talked about digital enhancement to the image and a lot of different things that are really coming to happen now these days. But what I ended up doing from that particular time in his course is I got hired at UCSD, and the event that I created there called Televiews, I invited Gene to actually come and give a little bit of his knowledge and his prophecy to the media department, which was something that they had, all they wanted to do, the media department, was play videos on a VCR. And I said, man, that's so old fashioned. Now this is 1981. So I figured, why don't we step up and do something a little bit more futuristic? So I asked Gene to come. And then, of course, when Gene came, I added another element that had to do with green screen. And while he was lecturing, the images and behind him were, which you'll notice, were in coordination with what he was saying, which is, my concept to think that how many times do you go to a lecture and you get so bored you tune the person out? I figured this way with a visual stimulus, a concept called random association, the association is being made with the lecture and the images in the background. You'll see that. And you'll also see a premise where we actually were creating with my students. This is a project I made with my students, by the way. And they created a demonstration of what at that time we didn't have, but what could have been a videophone conversation. I don't know if you need to tell me, if I need to tell you any more. The second piece is Bay Window, which I had a residency in the San Francisco Bay Area at the Exploratorium. And I wanted to make the connection between Native Americans' distant communication, which was smoke signals, and this new technology. What you'll be watching is the ritual of the Native community in the Bay Area, the ritual that had to do with the fall realities of gathering the harvest. So anyway, oh, and then of course the final section out of the bay window for this presentation is being made by Daniel Martinez from the Electronic Café. The other thing about this piece is that there's 4 or 5 different locations simultaneously being conducted. Okay, so all the other information you need to understand this work is being said. So pay attention to the audio, please.
So now we'll go to televiews.
Yeah, he is now.
All right, let's get our rolling together up here.
What's your name? Oh, you're good. I'm Steve. Yeah, so good.
I want to preview it. Okay, Vince.
He's gonna talk to you too.
Let's close. Stars, we're going to fade to black. You're going to take it at that point, and Gary Lloyd is going to introduce Gene Youngblood. Got it? At that point, after he introduces Gene Youngblood, then we're going to take him over here.
Good afternoon to those of you in the room who just arrived to the first micro relay, video, radio, real-time, simultaneous event here at UCSD. This is the first experiment of its kind that we know of on this campus and for that matter in the Southwest. We'd like to introduce Gene Youngblood, media theorist, a writer on media for years, who's here to talk about this.
Art making for the electronic arts, and primarily, I guess that means video. There's a lot of talk in general these days, and specifically at this event, about the idea of a communications revolution. And the last thing that I'm interested in doing is predicting that, but rather formulating a way of talking about it that is compelling and that creates desire in people to have such a thing happen. Communications revolution is an interesting term. I want to, because we think it means something that maybe it doesn't mean. To communicate means to say what is already understandable. That's all. If I say something you don't understand, we're just not communicating. Actually, the Latin roots of the word communication come from a word communare, which means a shared space. So the word communication implies explicitly that it is a kind of interaction that occurs in a pre-existing context. The word context from the Latin to weave together. That's why I say that to communicate is to say something which is already understood in principle. Because for there to be communication in the first place, there has to have been something happen before that. A consensus has to have been reached. So to communicate is to interact in a pre-existing context. It is then the context that's more important than the communication that occurs in it. Context, the weaving together, the construction of this domain of consensus is the most important creative act. Context determines the meaning, the significance, the use value, the reality of everything that happens in it. The control of context is the control of reality. The control of context, the frame of reference of the observer, projects onto any reality the nature of that reality that we observe. Now, if we are thinking these days about some kind of communications revolution and that this is supposed to solve social problems, I think we should reconsider the language that we use and in fact ask ourselves if what we really want to do is communicate. Now, I submit that all of the various attempts at cultural change, let us say, for example, the feminist movement, the ecology movement, the energy, alternative energy movement, and so forth, all of these, every single existing example of attempts at social reform today, I think for their complete success need to do one thing. They need to completely change the cultural context that has created the problem in the first place. Women, for example, surely want more than just equal employment opportunities, but they want to change the cultural context that defines them a priori as secondary citizens or unequal in whatever way is perceived. In other words, I think that ultimately any social reform movement seeks to completely expunge and change the cultural context that determines and defines the significance of our lives and the possibilities for action that are known to us. Communication cannot lead outside of the context that defines it as communication. When, it can be argued rather powerfully, we need above all else a conversational society, a conversational medium. The only thing that is not permitted in a centralized one-way mass audience, centralized culture, and I don't care if that culture is socialist or capitalist, the structure is what matters. The only thing that cannot be done is that the people should have under their own control continuous and pervasive access to alternative models of possible realities. That continuous and pervasive is what's important. So we're not proposing anything so radical there, just to change the nature of what is continuous and what is pervasive by having access to the power to produce, distribute, and display it. Since I believe that no social change is possible without a communications revolution, then the only thing left to do is to talk about it, work towards it, develop theory, prescribe practice, in the face of your belief that this may never be successful. That's beside the point, because nothing existing will be successful. In fact, it seems to me that the entire history of revolutionary discourse has been an illusion, that no socialism is possible in this world. The desire for that kind of life cannot be cultivated without continuous and pervasive access to models that would describe it in detail, the possibility of interacting in conversational discourse with the proponents of these models, questioning, discussing, entering into dialogues, refining the model, such that we could finally come to have a vivid imagination of what our life would be like if we lived in such a way, and what we have to do to get there. Where does art come into all this?
And the work is in progress, and what you're seeing here is not by any means, as you can tell, a finished project, but you're like kind of in on the work and the happening behind the scenes. So the difficult part for us today, the most difficult, is this conference call, so we can get all the people online at the same time. So that's happening right in our office. The people in the office are sort of trying to bring everybody in on a conference call. You all know what a conference call is, but this is a video conference call. So it's not just talking on the telephone. We'll have a series of different performances happening here, and then ones that people are doing elsewhere, particularly in Santa Monica. They have a lot of performances going on. This is all on your program, and the whole event should take about an hour. So at the end of it, it's important to know that we have a question and answer period, which is very much part of it, and I'm sure that you all have questions. So when it's over, save your questions, and we'll talk about anything you want. And then we'll show a video of Ulysses Jenkins, who is, again, the artist here today.
And sending.
Okay, Santa Monica's getting the robot color images.
Good.
because they move very, very graceful, like the deer when you walk.
Okay, just to let you know, these images are from the Miwok village. And people we're talking to, for people who are just coming in, is a location in Santa Monica, California, and Vancouver, British Columbia, and also Baker Lake and Hudson Bay at the Arctic Circle. What we're doing right now is sending pictures from Miwok village at Point Reyes, where today they're having the Acorn Festival, which is a ceremony celebrating harvest season. Okay, thank you, Larry. Okay, now we're going to introduce Frank, and I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more appropriately.
Hi, my name is Frank Manriquez. I'm of the Tongva and Acacheme tribe of Santa Monica, LA Basin, all the way down to San Diego. We're extinct. I'd like to extend greetings to all my ancestors via these waves through the sky. I'd like to express greetings to all our future descendants. I'd like to say hello to all indigenous peoples, all extinct peoples, and all visitors. I'd like to just mention something about the planet. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, take it upon yourself to save the planet yourself. Don't wait for anyone else.
Martinez is going to go to the mic and make the introduction. We're going robot, Panasonic, and audio.
Hello? Are we on here?
Just a second. Okay.
Hello? This is Daniel Martinez in Santa Monica. We're here at the Electronic Café. We are about to present The Cookie Jar is Empty, High Noon on the West Side. Our hosts today are Sherrie Rabinowitz and Kit Galloway. Our first performer is Luz Maria Garcia. She will recite and sing La Cigara. We are
Yes, at 12 or 36. Which do you want?
You want? So we'll do it at 12, Ulysses. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to do continuous black and white and continuous robot. Okay? Are you ready? Ready. Okay, here we go.
On an international conference on religion, Campbell overheard another American delegate, a social philosopher from New York, say to a Shinto priest, "We have now been to a good many of your ceremonies and have seen quite a few of your shrines, but we don't get your ideology. We don't get your theology." The Japanese paused as though in deep thought, then slowly shook his head. "We don't have ideology," he said. "We don't have theology. We dance." Ya no me canta cigarra, que acabe tu sonsonete, que tu canto aquí en el alma, como un puñal se me mete, sabiendo que cuando cantas, pregonando vas tu muerte. Marinero, marinero, dime si es verdad que sabes porque distinguir no puedo si en el fondo de los mares hay otro color más negro que el color de mis pesares. Ay, la, 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 luz. Ay, la, 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 lo. Ay, la, 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 lo. Hay otro color más negro que el color de mis pesares. Un palomito a volar que llevaba el pecho herido, ya casi para llorar, me dijo muy afligido, ya se cansó de buscar un amor correspondido. Bajo la sombra de un árbol y al compás de mi guitarra, canto alegre este huapango, porque la vida se acaba y quiero morir cantando como muere la cigarra. Ay, la, 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 luz. Ay, la, 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 luz. Ay, la, 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 lo. Y quiero morir cantando como muere la cigarra.
Ulysses? Ulysses?
Yes.
Did you get it?
Yeah, we got the VidPhone near, I think we got to check out the speed variable on the robot because we're getting lots of noise.
Thank you, Ulysses.
Thank you.
And I think it's really interesting to see how far we've come, transmitting one image at a time, and now we're doing live stream as we are tonight right now.
Actually, that is the miracle of moving forward, which I think this event is trying to do. I just want to say one more thing. This was also a way of thanking Gene Youngblood in terms of his work of pushing us forward. I think you'll get a lot more in terms of talking about Gene when you talk to Kit. But at the same time, Gene prophesied that we'd be doing this. We'd be doing this work.
Yes, expanded cinema definitely gave us those ideas. And we also wanted to do this as a tribute for him, and knowing, and all of us having a moment that he recently passed.
Sherrie Rabinowitz, which Kit again will talk more about.
Exactly. All right. Thank you very much, Ulysses. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your work, and really appreciate it. So, hi, Barbara. We're going to talk now with you about your incredible visionary work. And I just wanted to pose one question to you to launch off our conversation for you to talk about your work, the 21st Century Odyssey. So how did telecommunications technology influence your performance work? Obviously, this piece was made in 1991, and you had already been doing performance art for decades prior. So what was the thing that brought it all together?
Well, as you said, I've been doing performance, body-oriented performances since 1968 or so. And but technology wasn't a huge part of them. We had eventually video cameras that would record the events, but there was no cross communication with the media or anything like that. And in due time, eventually Electronic Café started in Santa Monica, and I would go to their events, where they were really visionary with all of the media that was available, and they would do around the world connections as the New Year came in, and all these exciting things. And eventually in 1986 or so, I met Roy Walford, and he was a scientist at UCLA working with gerontology, but he was also an adventurer, and he had gotten involved with the people who developed the Biosphere 2 project. And he thought it was amazing. And they were developing a rigorous practice of trying to select 8 people who would go inside the biosphere and live there, developing their own food and recycling their own air and water in this closed environment. And they, and he wanted to be one of the Biospherians. And of course, he was older than most of them. On the other hand, he was a bona fide scientist. And, and so eventually he became one of the 8 to go inside, and he made a surgery in there for their checking their health and so forth, and was a Biospherian. And so, but I was now involved with him, and the question was, what do I do while he's locked in this like a terrarium for 2 years? And so I had always had this dream. I'd even sent out invitations for people to join me in such a thing, to do something that would take me around the world. And of course, this became a perfect equal and opposite endeavor. He would be closed inside the biosphere, and I would travel around the world as far as I could go. And at the same time, having interfaced with the Electronic Café, I knew about the little Videophone. And so the idea was I would take a Videophone, a computer, small, we found a little computer. They weren't very many portable computers then, but there we got one. And video cameras and zap shot cameras and so forth. And then when Roy went into the biosphere, in due time, I started traveling around the world. And then we started communicating via this equipment to the biosphere, Roy being inside with another Videophone, and and then with Electronic Café, who archived all of our Videophone shots, for one thing. So that's how it got started.
But it was also a community, like you knew Kit, and it was a technology that was evolving that you wanted to kind of start using in your work.
Yeah,
which I think is awesome. And all right, so thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So shall we watch your excerpts now?
Yeah, let me, I've chosen, it's a 3.5-hour film.
Mm-hmm.
The trip was 2.5 years, or 2 years rather. So I've edited a section that shows interaction between myself and the Biosphere and Roy and Electronic Café, and then it goes on into some of my travels, and you'll see that.
And also, I just wanted to say, I think it's really interesting in that piece that you stayed focused for all those 2 years of saying, this is a journey, this is an exploration, like a scientist. I mean, you were approaching your art as a continuous endeavor to research and kind of stay on the road and find new things. And I find that really amazing that the piece went on for 2 years and staying focused.
Well, the whole thing was that the duration of time between September 26, 1991 and September 26, 1993 that elapsed time, all of that was, it was a durational artwork. So all of that time was the artwork. Not, I mean, just when I brush my teeth or sleep or anything.
Wonderful. All right, great. So we will go to the excerpts now. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Basically, Thais are very peaceful people, unless pushed very, very hard.
But the Thai people had been pushed to their limit. There were massive demonstrations throughout the country and across all strata of Thai society.
Hi, Barbara, and hi, fellow Bangkokians. I've hung out in Bangkok on my way to Australia many a time, so I appreciate
where I am.
the wild city you're in. Just great.
Right.
That came through fine.
Oh, you look great, Barbara.
In Bangkok, I could only do a transmission through a friend, Steve Wilkie, a transportation engineer at his home.
We're having quite a treat here with Barbara and her gadgetry, which is all over the floor of our house.
Uh-huh.
It's proving to be quite a treat for the locals who might witness this.
This is Jonathan, who's been helping me put all this together here.
Because of the demanding and hectic nature of these transmissions, it was impossible to be very personal, and I wondered if Roy thought of Jonathan as a threat to our relationship. I was dragging all of this equipment around and sending emails and faxes in the hope that Roy and I would create a deep bond between us. As yet, it wasn't happening. Meantime, Jonathan wanted me to go to Bali with him. I was sorely tempted, but my commitment to the piece, and beyond all that to Roy, prevented it.
You want another picture?
Yes.
Okay, people keep asking me how thin I am or not, so this is it.
All right, a new one.
Okay. You don't look
Yeah,
bad,
they-
Roy.
No, I don't.
They had a very low calorie diet.
Okay.
We can sell these.
It's Kit and Sherrie.
You guys,
Jonathan.
Barbara, you look fantastic.
As I prepared to leave Thailand, I said goodbye to Jonathan. This maverick guy was enormously fun and helpful. I knew I would miss him.
This is based on the Odyssey, the text in the film.
Mm-hmm.
The details has really good questions, should be. In the meantime, settle back, relax, enjoy our friendly service.
The day after I left Thailand, the demonstrations had become so violent that 40 people were killed. It was astonishing for me to see that the cultures of the Far East have been encapsulated in museums like this one in Australia, as well as all of the rest of the world. Having just visited the origins of Buddhism and Hinduism, it felt strange to see them as icons out of their context. Bus fare?
The way it depends where you're going.
I'm going to New South Wales, the University of New South Wales.
Okay.
I was welcomed to Australia by Bonita Ellie and her daughter Marina. Bonita was an artist and head of the sculpture department at the University of New South Wales, where she set me up as an artist in residence. Here I lectured about the Odyssey and gathered students who volunteered to participate in the performance I would do upon my return to Sydney. I was hosted by artist Jill Orr and her partner Marg Wade. Jill toured me around Melbourne and introduced me to her art world there.
So I did a thing down there a couple of weeks ago. Did you hear that thing on the radio about country western music?
Jill borrowed an RV and we set out to camp in the Grampians National Park. And he says, "Come on, let's go off in the bushes." See, he grabs hold of his tail. Do you see the ones I'm looking at? Yes! Is that what he's doing? It's what it looks like from here. Some pretty spectacular rock spread over here. I'm gonna go over there now. There we go. At Jill's, before we left, I had a waking dream where I was split between a total lack of feeling and driven solely by my head. I saw an image of a tar-covered black sort of burned figure of a woman emerging from a hole in the ground. She was a dislocated, anguished part of me. Fantastic ride. This is like Angkor Wat. We stayed here quite a while, and I started to walk one way around while Jill went the other. I looked at the vast and enormous reaches of landscape. I stood there awed, and suddenly felt myself to be an aboriginal Koori man, as he would feel having lived there all his life. Waking up to this feeling of electric energy, of being alive, and then sensing everywhere and in all directions the smells and vibrations of every molecule coming to him. He was a point of total sense experience. He could tell when the eagles flew and the kangaroos fed, and when a stranger approached. Suddenly, the arrival of the European came with technology that abruptly aborted and ruptured the flow of nature. Nothing worked anymore. It was finished. He could no longer sense the flowing of life. I found it difficult to experience what I just felt. Tears were in my eyes.
Somewhere say between 18
So maybe this is like a warning, or this guy's got a spear, it looks like to me.
Yeah, me too.
Almost like a place where they'd be teaching.
Yeah.
I was in a strange state. I sat and simply became very quiet like a stone. Jill became quiet too. I felt embodied by different beings, and then finally by an elder, a grandmother. I experienced Jill as being a very young girl, maybe 13 or so. We sat together. I was like a rock or stone, just a part of nature. It was an odd night. We began to talk, and a small branch fell from above and hit me on the head. Then I walked to the toilets I had seen before, straight opposite the bus. With my flashlight that can penetrate far into the clearing, I scanned the entire area but saw nothing. Then I went to the trash area instead to pee and got a very weird spatial sense looking at the sky, like a reverse figure-ground relationship. It looked entirely backwards. I couldn't figure what it was. The surrounding trees were black and seemed like they were the sky. The big central open area seemed like some big fluffy object, like a blanket. My eyes just wouldn't sort it out. We went to bed, but I fell asleep uneasily. I was awakened by the wind and the sound of a strange crying in the night. They were all around us. I couldn't figure it out. Over and over in the night, the cries, like humans in the trees, went all around the camp. I was too dazed to get up. In the morning, Jill told me the cries were birds that used to scare people because they sounded so human. A strange thing happened as we were driving. Jill was asking me if I had had a good time, and suddenly I couldn't figure out who was speaking to me, but the voice was very familiar. The laugh, the inflection, the Australian accent, the total manner of speaking. It was odd. But then I figured it out. Who else did I know that was Australian? What's ahead? Then I realized it's Jill Scott, who made all of my connections for me and is now thousands of miles away in Europe, who sounds exactly like Jill Orr. We stopped in a pub for dinner. There, we bantered with two men who brought back a sense of fun in the otherwise strange night. There must be 12 of these if they're called the 12 Apostles.
Yes, I think there was.
Is that Melbourne over there?
Yes, that's Melbourne.
Brunswick Street.
Yep, Brunswick Street, Fitzroy.
Another church, just to prove
yes.
that in Christian countries we also have temples of worship. Oh, it's so good to see you. Says what?
Expecting a maximum of 18 degrees. In the meantime, settle back, relax, enjoy our friendly service.
Flight attendants, please be seated for landing. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. So, Barbara, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I just, I think we're all going to come back together now.
We didn't do Kit.
We will in just one second. But Barbara, I just wanted to say thank you for showing us segments of the 21st Century Odyssey. I was wondering how frequently, just real briefly, were you transmitting before I moved to Kit to how frequently were you transmitting to the Biosphere?
Well, let's see, in Australia, I was able to do with the students that I'd worked with a performance on at dawn on a cliff overlooking the city, and then videotape it. And then we transmitted that to. In other words, I tried to do a performative thing every place I went. That was in Australia, in Nepal. In Nepal, I did a sort of movement piece with a group of musicians, a blind sitar player, and he was playing this traditional music. And I did a movement piece to that, and that was transmitted to the Biosphere and to Electronic Café. And in Thailand, you saw that I couldn't, I didn't find a ritual sort of situation. So I just was transmitting in that person's house.
Yeah, those were great images.
And then, let's see, that would be, and then, let's see, India, Thailand, Nepal, Australia. Then back in the United States, I did, oh, and then Hawaii, see, did I send anything from Hawaii? I don't think so. And then I got back to the United States, and then I did a couple from different art events in the United States. And then I flew to England, and I did a transmission from England. Yes, I did, with a bunch of women. They were terrific women, performance people and so forth. And then in Germany, I didn't, but in Norway, I did a major culminating piece for the whole Odyssey. It was a huge, beautiful, beautiful piece with some of my relatives were actually in it. And
awesome.
It was very mythic, and that was transmitted to the United States.
Excellent. And I know it was a lot of work carrying all that equipment. So
I
very,
got used to it though.
Yeah, very, very visionary. So thank you so much. So now we're going to move on to Kit. Hi, Kit. Welcome. So Kit, we're going to start you off with a question to launch your observations and presentation. So how did you and Sherrie come to work with telecommunications technology in relation to live performance and community engagement? What was that starting point?
Well, both of us were involved with video collectives. Me in Amsterdam with Jack Moore, and at the Milky Way, we built a multimedia video theater. Sherrie was in San Francisco with Optic Nerve, and there were other video groups there, Ant Farm and other people, and the video heads did a huge multimedia theater piece for the ill-fated Munich Olympic Games. And after that, we moved to Paris by invitation of the Sony showroom on the Champs-Elysees, where they wanted us to do interactive window installations for the people outside on the sidewalk, not in the store. Sherrie was shooting in '75. She was documenting, her group was documenting Ant Farm's media burn. And Felix Guattari was traveling there and met them and invited Sherrie to come to France with some gathered up video tapes and projects that American independent video people were doing to show to the activists there, because they couldn't afford it because the French was taxing the price of Sony video equipment like to twice the price, and nobody could afford it. She arrives in Paris. I knew Felix. I did a project with him with some heroin addicts. He introduced me to Sherrie, and I got her some venues to show her tapes. And she went to Avignon and showed them there. And so after being together a few days, we knew we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. And we were both in transition, and we'd been doing video for years, and we were wondering what was next. And so we just sort of sat down and looked forward into the future 20, 30 years, trying to ask the question or imagine, the potentials of a world that was wired with broadband and multimedia, and people were walking around with a broadcast television station in their pocket. And then we focused just on telecollaboration rather than broadcasting to what the French called telespectators. So we came up with a number of ideas. It included the Satellite Arts Project, the Images Place, a virtual place where people from anywhere could convene in the image together, be together, work together, dance together, whatever. And Hole in Space, and even the Network Project, and several others that we never got completed. And we got word from NASA that they were looking for people to show them new applications. And so within a little over a year, we had access to the NASA satellite, went back to the United States on a Soviet ocean liner, and started doing the Satellite Arts Project. So it all sort of came to us quite easily. And we didn't think of ourselves as visionaries. We just thought that everybody else was asleep at the wheel and drugged by watching television. So that's how we got together and did what we did, because that's like, we figured out where we were going, and that's what we were going to be doing.
Excellent. Amazing. And then, and so in 1980, you started, I guess I don't even consider a biggest project, but Hole in Space.
Well, it's the most known project.
Yes.
It's a damn good project. It's the mother of video chats, they say. And
yes.
It was a great project. And, but in some quarters, it's kind of like it's our one-hit wonder. People don't even know much about the Electronic Café 84. The art world didn't even ask, what the hell was that about? So at the end of 84, wow, we were tired of building these complex models and working with, industry and institutions and stuff like that to get them to act out our will. And we'd have to tear them down after weeks or days or months or short periods of existence, these models of like these new ways of being in the world. So we opened the Electronic Café International in 88, started doing New Year's Eve around the world celebrations in 1988, 90 till 2000, 10 of them. And it was the only place in the world with a network of over 50 friends and affiliates that was open every day and never closed for 10 years. So thousands of things took place.
Wonderful.
And then Sherrie got ill and we closed the door and we took care of her for the next 15 years until she passed.
Oh, very sorry to hear that. And no, but you have some wonderful images that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah. Do I hit share screen?
Yeah, you can share your screen now.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks.
Share the screen. Launch the meeting. I gotta get in. Right, so here's a picture of Sherrie. That's actually before we met in California. In the beginning, there was that Satellite Arts Project. Now I've got these videos and I'm not going to, I'm just going to get through these fast and actually go to images, which are little more controllable. So we had to do these time delay tests. And you can see the delay in a satellite transmission. It wasn't a lot of time, it was a fraction of a second, but if you're trying to dance and stuff, it gets a little complicated. And dance we did. So these people, the person on the right is at the Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland, and the others are in California near the Ames Research Center, NASA Ames Research Center. And we even worked with the satellite delay in creating these echoes by bouncing off the satellite and creating this kind of effect, which couldn't be done live in a studio because they didn't have digital storage facilities, equipment. So satellite arts. Paul Horn came and played with Satellite Echo. Flutist Paul Horn. Kezia had these devices that read her muscle electricity, and that's what made the music and the satellite delay dance part. So all of these things happen. We got some good press. Then there was Hole in Space. And this was in 1980. Took a lot of effort to get the windows we wanted, except for Lincoln Center. People are kind of familiar with this.
Kit, were you in New York or the LA setup?
I was in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and Sherrie was in Los Angeles with her friends, two of her friends from Optic Nerve.
Mm-hmm. What was the energy like? Everybody looked so ecstatic to not have a phone call, but to see the physical human body.
Well, people, there were phone booths back then, and people would go over and phone their friends and say, go to Century City or go to, and so yeah, it was a novelty for sure.
Yeah,
and it blew people away.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a lot of entertainers. There were 7 over the 3 days. There were 7 different twins that showed up.
Mm-hmm.
After the news coverage, then it was just like a little bit out of control. We designed it if you stood 10 feet away from the window, everybody actually had eye contact, but things got so out of hand. Check this. Well, we've seen this, but
did you do? Was it 24? Was it 24
2 hours? 2 hours.
Oh, 2 hours every day. But it's interesting. We've just spent a whole year and a half in Zoom, doing live stream, and no one gets that excited as they did in that piece.
Well, I'll tell you. Think about this. We've been looking at screens of heads. And we look at people on our little cell phone teeny TVs. No one can understand the visceral experience of standing on a sidewalk talking to a life-size person 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
It's a total different emotional bandwidth and experience. Here's the 6-hour version.
Mm-hmm. And Barbara, you experienced?
Oh yeah, I went more than once. Yeah.
Okay.
So then there's Electronic Café, 1984. This was our Orwellian antidote to create community centers where people not just consumed the technology, but became the architects of how it was going to be used. And we were asking people what they want. Otherwise, they will get what they get, which will be centralized owned services that, and we're the product that they're selling to advertisers. But we need an autonomous thing. And that's what Gene was talking about. We were doing what Gene was talking about. That's why he fell in love with us and moved into our house with us for 4 years.
Oh my goodness.
Until he got a job offer in Santa Fe. So computer networks and stuff were mostly just text then, even after Electronic Café when the well opened up in San Francisco. So that's that. And there's, let's see.
So the 1984 Olympics, you hooked up nodes of communities throughout.
No, we had potluck dinners for a half a year, and we brought in the American Indians. We were going to do 10 locations, but the budget got cut a little bit. Actually, we were misled, and then we would talk about it, and then we selected our artists, the people who said, yeah, we want to do this, Ulysses and so many others. And we ended up with 4 locations and the museum. And the people that lived in the East LA and Black South Central, they were the people that found the venues in their own community, their own indigenous community. We didn't pick them, they did. So people could write, draw together in real time. So we wanted to offer these capabilities beyond the keyboard. Until then, cyberspace, the only portal was through a keyboard, which is intimidating. And all of our work reduces the intimidation of all this stuff. So we try to create an environment where people are welcomed in and get to experience these new ways of being in the world. So that project ran for 7 weeks without a problem. Giant mosaics. This was like over 100 photos that was transmitted to the museum and recreated. So that was quite a thing. So we create context, not content. We create these structures that people go into, and then they define it. Electronic Café International, well, that was like 10 years of stuff. And there we moved into, we kept the little videophone technology, like this stuff, and other compatible ones. We had a videophone gallery. People could send their images into this computer, run this menu, and they could put their images in graffiti environment or art or whatever, and then go through the gallery and see these things. And we even had a fun room where kids could use their parents' videophone and dial in their face, and the computer would do funny things to the face. But no, we had we built networks of new applications, new context. We were creating new context to explore the intrinsic qualities of them, to see what new genres would be created. We set up an internet, she's in the yellow, she's in France. The other lady's at our place, and it's a international poetry network for the deaf people. This is music. The percussionists are at our place and the other musicians are in Copenhagen. So, and this is a choreographed dance. It's a very, actually, very well coordinated dance.
Is this called composites or what?
It's a composite image space, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here was our cyber table when we had conferences and stuff like that, and the virtual reality group met at our place every month. We actually helped start it. So a person from far away, the fuzzy guy, he's in San Francisco, and Dan here is talking to him. We don't need to hear it. I'm just showing you that we had the cyber table. This is a mix of full motion video with the most current yet primitive video on the internet in those early days. See You See Me. The guy who invented See You See Me was an Electronic Café fan, and as well as the people who invented three-dimensional vermal worlds. These are performers in New York in our place. And then we had lots of kids' days. Here we're driving robots with our touch tone telephone to go forward, backward. These artists at the McLuhan Center created these environments that you would drive around in. And if you met someone, they had 2 cars. So when you got close to the next car, like at a stoplight, you could wave at them. And then as you drove away, you would go back through the world. These are mixes of full motion video and slow scan. This is with the kitchen. They became an affiliate. This is like a Onyx reality engine. It's like a $250,000 computer. The industry came in and gave us their new stuff to watch us play with it to see what new applications might be. So it kind of got good. Where are we? Touch and feel. We also did other kinds of virtual contact experiments. And these people are in 2 different places on one campus in 2 different buildings. They were acquaintances, but they didn't know each other. But after this experience, she runs over to the building where he is, and they now really know each other much better. How am I doing on time?
I think you got about 2 minutes.
2 minutes. I'm going to run this 4-minute thing. This is my tribute to Gene, who's talking about her work, which he did so often. And then I have a little closeout.
Lovely. April 6th was his passing, correct?
Yeah, 3 days before Sherrie's anniversary of passing.
Oh, great minds.
I got to go to 2229, which is around here somewhere. Up in front of that, a little front of that. You've seen this 2229. Okay, let's roll tape.
Love, and I'm doing Live Long and Prosper.
Here we go.
Live long and prosper, Gene, and all of you.
Thank you, dearest. Oh, there it is. All right. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. We have an opportunity today for art, in the life of society on a scale that has never been possible before. We talk about a crisis of art in the 20th century that has become superfluous, the game of an elite, that has no real involvement in society. And it's through work like Kit and Sherrie do that they are modeling not only, uses of the technology, but modeling a new kind of art, a new way that art can live daily by participating in creating this new world. Artists, musicians, poets are the ones who have been using Electronic Café International. In fact, it's designed as this kind of open lab for aesthetic research in the new technologies. And after all, art and aesthetics ultimately are about the human spirit. They're about authenticity, finding out who it is you are, much more human you can be, how much more broad experiences you can have, that you can love more than you knew you could love, that you could feel more than you knew you could feel, and that you can do this through technologies that you didn't think had anything to do with this. And artists are the ones who can show us the way, and by showing us the way through the technology, they can show us the way to our hearts. Isn't that what art has always done? We have got to apply that discipline so that the technological environment in which we are going to live for the rest of human history can be felt and sensed as something that does reflect our humanity and our humanness, the way our past experience with this technology has not done. I'm not saying, hey, let's just leap into this utopia and blindly accept everything as totally wonderful, of course. And yet it's that very experience of the alternative, of the spiritual and aesthetic use of it that allows us more sharply to see when it is not delivering us to our humanity, when it is not connecting people. If we don't have that other model, we can't see that. And then we just experience it through fear, intimidation, and we back off. and we don't reach out, and we don't try to participate in finding our future.
Today we've spoken with Moscow. We were on.
That's around the world. I'd like to, I have a little closeout. I'm just a couple of minutes away, but we have a website that's archived. It's not, all of it's not accessible, but, and it hasn't been added to since 2000, but it's ecafe.com. And we have a show of our work and the full videos at Rhizome. If you Google Rhizome and mobile image, which was one of our names, you'll be able to find that. So that's pretty much, so we really liked working with all kinds of people locally and globally. Jean's and Sherrie's together again. And go away. And I sure love that lady.
Wonderful. Onward.
And out.
Thank you so much, Kit. That was really lovely.
Stop sharing?
Yes, stop sharing.
Okay, that's a taste.
Thank you very much. So now I am so honored and excited to welcome the Dean of the Claire Trevor School of the Arts, Stephen Barker, here tonight to talk with you and share with you this wonderful honor, the Claire Trevor School of the Arts Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you, Stephen. Go.
I'm ready to go. I don't see.
You're ready to go.
All right, Stephen.
There's Ulysses. All right. So glad to see you up and about. I'm only seeing you, not myself. I have my camera on, but
we see everything perfectly.
Anywhere.
We see everything perfectly.
Oh, so I'm right there before you.
Yes.
Yeah, we see
Well,
you.
then I want to say
again.
what an incredible honor it is for me to be part of this evening. What remarkable visionaries you are. The three of you, the four of you were Sherrie with us. Something Jean said, Kit, in the last moments of your tribute to him right at the end just struck me as being something really to take away, which for me defines so much of the incredible vision that the three of you have brought to the world of art. He said that what was most central to him was to make new art that can live and create new worlds. And it seems to me that what you, Ulysses, and what you, Barbara, and what you, Kit, along with Sherrie and others have done is precisely to show us new ways to experience the depth and the breadth of the experience of the world. So it's just a remarkable pleasure and a treat for us to be able to honor you with what is now a wonderful tradition in the School of the Arts. I'm going to start with you, Ulysses, and say, this is something that will go on your mantelpiece. Be careful not to carry it around too much. These are really heavy. Barbara, if you do another world trip, don't do this instead of your camera. It's too heavy for you to take anywhere. So Ulysses, this says, of course, Claire Trevor School of the Arts, Lifetime Achievement Award 2021. And the text says, in recognition of his lifetime contributions to the innovative interface of video and multimedia performance art and the representation of Black culture. And it's just a summary of the amazing work that you brought here to UCI, that you've shared with the world, and that's really changed the way in which we see this pioneering and revolutionary work that you've done. And second of all, Barbara, this is what you're going to have to put on your mantelpiece. And Barbara, this says, in recognition of her lifetime contributions as a groundbreaking feminist performance artist and her innovative use of early interactive technologies as a communications tool. And certainly in your trips around the world, your amazing footage. And I just love the notion, this Bergsonian notion of duration that you've brought to the world of your own personal experience, which then is generalized out into the experience of all of those who share it with you. So truly an amazing archive of material. Thank you so very much. And Kit, last of all for you, this of course puts Sherrie first. So we have to Sherrie Rabinowitz and Kit Galloway. Needless to say, this will go with some of those eyeballs in your studio there. This says, in recognition of a lifetime of artistry and visionary contributions to the world of human-to-human, telecollaborative, and tele-immersive arts and environments on a global scale. And I think one of the most amazing things for all of you, all three, is what you've done is to have these amazingly personal visions that have actually created new art that can live and create new worlds on a global scale. And one of the things I was most impressed by the work that I've just seen for the last hour and a quarter with you is the way in which so much of the work that all of you have done is still being caught up to by so many now new generations of artists who are just beginning to understand what you opened up in the 80s and the early 90s, et cetera, with technology that was so much less sophisticated than what they have to work with. It shows the way in which creativity can really go way beyond the limits of what the technology is designed to do, to be able to do ever more. So thank you so much for your amazing work, for your energy and your creative drive that has been so wonderful to share with us this evening. Deborah, thank you so much for asking me to give these awards tonight. I'm delighted to have been here and to see the work that you've done. I wish you all well. And again, thank you for the fantastic work that you've given us. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you very much. All right. So thank you very much, Stephen, for joining us. And all of you being honored in this moment with your these wonderful awards. We've got one other interesting part of the program that we're going to work with now. I'm going to invite a UCI student to come join us. His name is Jeremy. And what we're going to do now is, hold on. We are going to, Ulysses has a class at UCI called a collaboration class. And Ulysses, you want to share a little bit about that? The students, just one second. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The one thing I want to say to the students is hello.
Okay, great. Great.
I haven't seen them for most of the quarter, although we started out with me.
Absolutely. And your idea to bring Sherrie, Kit, Barbara, and yourself into this whole idea of exploring technology, telecommunications technology at its nascent form. And so students responded by making videos in response to this idea of thinking about, for them, the theme was imagine technology in the future. So in the standpoint of 2021 and looking at your work was projecting to 2020 or to now. And so they're projecting 30 years into the future. So they worked with Barbara, they researched your work, Kit's work, and this is some lovely...
Might I add Catherine, right?
Yes, and I wanted to thank our the TA for this lovely class, Catherine Anger, who worked with us diligently to make this work. We have one student here who's going to talk. Jeremy is going to turn on his camera and probably say a few words.
Where are you, Jeremy?
Are you here, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello. Firstly, I'd like to apologize that I'm not able to have a working video at the moment, but I'm a student from the Art 100 collaboration class, and throughout this quarter, we've been studying your work such as Barbara's The 21st Century Odyssey, Ulysses' Talking Hut, and Kit's Hole in Space. And so we've made our videos as a response to your work. And so I've gathered here just a few questions from my fellow classmates that we would love to ask you.
Jeremy, hold on. We're going to look at your works first, and then we'll come back. Yeah, and then we'll come back and do the questions. So Bruce, let's share the student work and just a few minutes of that. Thank you, Jeremy. I know our public can't see him, but his voice is carrying through. So if we could play that video, that would be lovely, Bruce.
Hi, welcome to, wait, is my mic okay? Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Oh, my name's too small? All right. How about that? No? Okay. Okay. This is okay? All right, can everyone hear me? Okay. And video's all right? How about this? Okay. This is better? All right.
FaceTime ready. Call Emily. Hi. Do you want the photos we took? I'll send you a picture. The mail has been sent. Please check it. See you next week. Return to charging status.
modern architecture. John Lautner coming your way. I know you like this beat, cause Jeff been doing the damn thing. You wanna turn it up loud. Future nostalgia is the name.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Hello? Hello, Stella. What? We're streaming today. We stream like every single day, and it's our job, so. Oh my god, you look really cute today. I know, we have really good taste. Yeah, that's my shirt, yeah. Yeah, and I look good, so. Okay, go. Hi guys. I'm so sorry that I'm streaming a little later today. I had a lot of maintenance to do since I'm an AI and stuff. But yesterday's charity stream was very successful, and I promised on Instagram that I'm going to do a hot tub stream. Hot tub stream. Oh my god, thank you for the bits. Thank you for the subs. Thank you. No. We're not doing a hot tub stream. Yes, we are. We are doing a hot tub stream.
Yeah, the coffee I made is freaking hot. It does not cool down fast at all. Oh, you wanna touch it? Oh, okay. Yeah, see? Hot, right? You know what, dude? I actually gotta go. I got a final like in 30 minutes, and I'm 20 minutes away, so I gotta go now. Wish me luck, bro. Thanks, bro. See you later, man.
Okay, great. So Ulysses, responses, imagining telecommunications in the future. And this is what the class was responding to. And so Jeremy, thank you for joining us. I understand you have some questions from the class and wanted to know if you could share them now.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So my first question is for Barbara. What do you believe is the connection between rituals and futurism?
Whoa. I think that culture, knowingly or not, rides on a couple of vectors, one of which is ritual, and the other is narrative, the stories we tell. And the rituals can be anything from habitual ways that we, put our keys down and the patterns that we have in the way we live our life, to very deeply significant activities in which we intentionally invoke spiritual energy and set intentions to focus our consciousness and our whole physical being on some intended transformational event. And it can happen within the structure of known, like Native American ways of creating rituals in a circle, or others. But all of these things, you're asking about those things in relation to the future. I just think humans do this. I don't know that, I just think that's the way humans march into the future. So we'll take our need to make rituals augmented by new forms of technology and new ways of interacting, but we'll still probably carry the idea of a ritual with us.
Thank you, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
So my next question is for Ulysses. Why do you feel that acknowledging the rituals and the land that you and the audience were on was important to your work?
When you say the land, what are you talking about? The Pomo tribes?
Yeah, just land and I guess space in general in correlation to this idea of the ritual.
Well, but Jeremy, also they're referring that they watched Talking Hunt and the rituals that happen there.
Yeah, well, in conjunction to Talking Hut, the land, if you do understand native cultures, is the central meaning place of us all. And to that extent, your relationship to the earth. I mean, as you might have heard Frank Renwiges say, if you are concerned about the earth, if you love the earth, don't wait for somebody else to tell you what to do with it. And it's taken this long that we actually finally have a president who is understanding enough to try to do something about the earth. I mean, to whatever degree that you understand what you guys have been working with in terms of messaging through this technology, I mean, on a lot of ways, I was fascinated by the different image making that you guys were making this quarter, and to an extent of how that may or may not refer to the future. The whole notion of what you presented seemingly was reaching out. And that's, I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that.
That's great. Thank you. And lastly, for Kit, has modern day communications met the expectations that you had for it back then?
I was more hopeful, actually. There's always going to be technology moving on. So much so it's going to be like being handcuffed to a treadmill going 100 miles an hour. And there's a lot that we have to get right before we hand the keys over to the robots. We have to be able to create at the same scale as we can destroy. And stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
and a virus for morons. I mean, no, a vaccine for morons. We need that.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to just say one more thing, though, that comes from Gene himself. And he would say back in the times that I was in conversation with him, one of the main things that you have to consider is, what do you have to say? If you remember what he was talking about in the video that I made with him, he was talking about conversations. And Kit was also chiming in on that when he was talking about context. The context of what do you have to say? And I think a lot of people don't consider that they may or may not have something to say. So they say and do nothing.
He also said a conversation can be turning around together. If we talk and we understand each other clearly, that's trivial. If we try to explain something and we learn something from trying to explain something or discover something, then that's communication. But just talking is just trivial. Communication is getting sort of to the next step beyond knowing what we're talking about.
Right. But just so that I can actually round this up with Barbara, I think Barbara showed us what that experience that she was having globally and the meaningfulness of being able to do that kind of travel and experience where other people are coming from is very valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
And putting a lot of importance in the idea of body and place and time, which is what you were able to do by intersecting in all those different continents as you were doing your research about the human being experience. And the biosphere was doing the experience of trying to survive in a man-made environment. And I think that juxtaposition is more timely now than ever that we think about it, because of the state of our planet, because of the state of technology kind of running so fast, as you say, Kit, moving so quickly. And can we control it? Is it possible to control it? So a lot at hand, as Ulysses, as we all say to the students, is that their vision is going to carry us forward as your visions carried us forward to where we are today. And I just want to thank you, because it's your visions that allowed us to stay connected over this year and a half of quarantine and pandemic and a century experience, that if we did not have this kind of platform, it would have been devastating on so many levels. And even though people experience isolation and hardships, it still allowed us a way to connect. So it was very timely for Ulysses to bring, and, you know, for us in the Art of Performance in Irvine to bring you here in 2021, have this conversation, and synchronistically thinking, we're doing it digitally. We didn't choose it to do it digitally. We had to do it digitally because of the pandemic, but it's so perfect, I think, in terms of what you all were doing so many years ago, decades ago. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your time and energy and presence. All three of you as friends, that's the other thing, you know, that you all fed each other, and sure, nourished wise and intellectually. So thank you for bringing that to our students, Ulysses.
Well, I just want to say, to comment on your comment, I started off the class knowing that we'd have to go into this Zoom environment. Welcome to my world. Welcome to a world that I already knew. That how many people that you may know have complained about having to do Zoom? And the complaint was, I have to actually be, as some of my students know that I would get to them about, having to be seen. Because then you will have to do something that is communication. And that's, unfortunately, too many people figure that they don't have to say anything. They just exist.
Well, can I just interject here? One of the things too, Ulysses, about that is something that Kit brought up too, is the idea of the technology. Not everybody has the same technology. Not everybody has the same bandwidth. Not everybody has the tools to have to actually connect. So hopefully with broadband building in rural and all kinds of places, everybody.
President Biden is trying to do that.
Yes.
Equalize.
So listen, equalize and equity and technology and tools. So with that, Jeremy, I know you're there. Your voice is there, the embodied self.
Hello.
Hi. So thank you again for representing the collaboration class and coming to join us. Thank you. Those are beautiful questions that the class composed for all three of you. So they did that today. They were working diligently to create some questions. So thank you very much, Jeremy. And
thank you for having me here.
Yes, thank you. And Barbara and Kit and Sherrie and Ulysses and Jean, I want to thank all of your presence and energies for taking us on this journey in ritual performance, visionary consciousness, and telecommunications. So
thank you for putting up with us.
Yeah, really. Thank you.
It was an honor. It was an honor.
Everybody
in the lobby of all of your books.
Everybody watch Planet of the Humans.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, good night. Thank you. And let's thank Bruce. Big round of applause.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Bruce.
All right. And good night. And thank you, UCI, for hosting this wonderful conversation with the three of you. Much, much appreciated.
And thank you for the awards.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Cutting it off now, Kit. Cutting it off.
Oh, bad boy.
Bad boy. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye, Barbara. Bye, Ulysses. Bye, Deborah.
Bye, Kit.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye, Barbara.
Bye.
Bye, Deborah.
Oh, Ulysses. Bye.